All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So it is March 4th. We are less than 10 days away from the start of NFL free agency. We have the draft in less than 2 months away. Right now is the time period in the offseason where everything is just smoke and mirrors, right? We just had the draft combine and teams are buckling up and gearing up for free agency. And when we take a look at the team, Pittsburgh Steelers, it's just interesting. Brand new offense coordinator, Arthur Smith, and Russell Wilson was just released by the Denver Broncos. And there's been ruminations, there's been speculations ever since the season ended. If Pittsburgh wants to move forward with Kenny Pickett still, if they want Mason Rudolph to be the competition, the competitor in the quarterback room with Kenny, or if they're going to move on and go with like a Russell Wilson, or if they're going to go with a Justin Fields or a Kirk Cousins or Baker Mayfield. And so we're seeing conflicting reports all the damn time. So Russ was just dropped by the Denver Broncos. But we just heard recently that the Steelers are not interested in signing Russell Wilson in the likely event that he gets released by Denver. This is a couple of days old. This was from a source familiar with the coaching staff's feelings on the quarterback at this stage of his career. Russell Wilson is 35 years old. This is from The Athletic, by the way. Additionally, Pittsburgh is not among the teams actively working to trade for Fields, league sources told The Athletic's Diana Rossini. Pittsburgh is also not pursuing Kirk Cousins or Baker Mayfield in free agency. Now, my Steelers fans know this. And what we do know of Omar Khan, the GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is he's not going to show any hand. In fact, none of these GMs of any of these teams are going to show their hand. I would not be shocked in any way, shape, or form if Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers next season. And, obviously, I don't know if that means Kenny Pickett would still be on the roster, but if you do have Russell Wilson on the Pittsburgh Steelers, he will be QB1, all right? So we're going to be talking about that and some potential Steelers offseason moves. But before we get into it, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. We post 2 or 3 Steelers videos every single week. Steelers fans, love you guys as always. Try and get this video to 250 likes. That would mean the absolute world to me. So these reports are just so weird because like a couple of days ago, we heard from Adam Schefter saying, Pittsburgh, don't be surprised if Pittsburgh goes for Justin Fields. Pittsburgh's more of a legitimate destination than Atlanta. So we heard this from Arthur Smith, and here's a direct quote. Obviously, there were some issues with the offense, and I'm excited about the impact that Arthur Smith is going to have. Omar Khan, the GM, said, Arthur is very optimistic about Kenny. I know they've communicated. We'll have some strong competition there, and we'll see how it goes. So it's just interesting, man, because, Pittsburgh, I still think needs a quarterback. And whether it's on their roster or, Mason Rudolph re-signing, I just am not quite sold on Kenny Pickett being that guy. The thing is, though, when the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round of the NFL draft a couple of years ago, they knew he wasn't going to be a Patrick Mahomes. They knew he wasn't going to be a Josh Allen. What they wanted to do is build up this dynamic, this explosive, this unbelievable defense, which is exactly what they did, and have kind of a game manager like a Jared Goff, Brock Purdy type of guy with this crazy threat at the running back position and the strong trenches, especially on offense, but obviously the defensive side of things. The issue I have with the Pittsburgh Steelers running it back with Kenny Pickett for a third season is this. I understand he had the best game of his career in the game after Matt Canada was fired. Matt Canada did Kenny Pickett no favors. But at the same time, and I always say this on my Pittsburgh Steelers videos, when Kenny Pickett got back healthy and you're taking on the Buffalo Bills, if Kenny Pickett was that dude and he was your franchise cornerstone at the quarterback position, the most important position in the NFL, there would have not been a confusion. There would not have even been a question on who the starting quarterback for the first game of the playoffs should be. And it was a clear-cut consensus that it was going to be Mason Rudolph and that it should be Mason Rudolph. So my thing is, you're still going up against Pat Mahomes. You're still going up against Josh Allen. And specifically in your division, you're going up against some pretty good quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, these are MVP players. Deshaun Watson. And typically in the NFL, the best quarterback in that division wins the division. And Kenny Pickett, at this point in his career, no matter what our opinions of the past, the current, and the future is the 4th best quarterback. I guess you could maybe make the case against Deshaun Watson, but I think Deshaun Watson is better than Kenny Pickett, regardless of the whole Deshaun Watson situation off of the field. So when we look at Russell Wilson, the reason I really like him coming on over is because I have a top 5 defense, man. The Pittsburgh Steelers have one of the best defenses in the National Football League. And that's not going to change anytime soon with TJ Watt. Yes, they have some issues. You need some linebacker help. You need some cornerback help. I've seen some interesting trade ideas, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on with Deontay Johnson for L'Jarius Sneed. Like, that would be a crazy move. But Russell Wilson is not as bad as people make him out to be. He went like 11-19 in his 2 years with the Denver Broncos. He got benched at the end of last season, and it, reportedly was because of contract disputes. I never particularly felt like Russell Wilson and Sean Payton's, like, just kind of their personalities were going to be great. But honestly, Russell Wilson did a phenomenal job, all things considered, especially the way the Denver Broncos started their season last year. 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, a completion percentage of 66.4. He threw for over 3,000 yards. He had a quarterback rating of 98. I know this isn't Seattle Russell Wilson, but he still is going to give you a couple of big-time plays per game. He's going to keep it clean. He's going to keep the mistakes down. And when we start getting into playoff football, because the Pittsburgh Steelers made the playoffs with a bottom 5 offense in the NFL, with Matt Canada getting fired halfway through the season, with Kenny Pickett going down, then you bring in Mitch Trubisky, and then you bring in your technically third-string starter and Mason Rudolph. Like, they went 10-7 and they made the playoffs. And I just think having a guy like Russell Wilson would get you to the next level as far as actually winning a playoff game. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have lost their 6 playoff games, man. It doesn't work for me. And unfortunately for my man Kenny Pickett, the career stats don't look good. They just don't look good. This past season, only 2,000 passing yards, only 6 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Like, I just need a little bit more. And I gotta say, I think Kirk's gonna be back in Minnesota. I think Justin Fields with Arthur Smith is very enticing, very intriguing, but you're going to have to give up some draft capital. I think Baker will probably be back with the Buccaneers. I think signing Russell Wilson might be in the Pittsburgh Steelers' best interest. Now, with the Deontay Johnson stuff, Deontay's entering the last year of his contract, and he just had over 4,000 career receiving yards, 25 touchdowns in his first 5 seasons with Pittsburgh. He's coming off 717 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's in the last year of his contract this upcoming season. So I would love if they keep him, because the Pittsburgh Steelers still need a slot receiver, and I've got my star wide receiver in George Pickens. But it also wouldn't surprise me if they were able to work out a deal with the Kansas City Chiefs for L'Jarius Sneed, which I think would be very beneficial for that team. But at the same time, it is a good wide receiver class. It is a good wide receiver free agency. And so, the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, I guess at the end of the day, could be looking different next season. So that's it from me. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. But most importantly, especially for my Steelers fans, let me know your thoughts on Russell Wilson going to the Pittsburgh Steelers down below.